There are some stories in Hollywood that don't feel like gossip or drama. They feel human. They feel real, and this is one of them. Johnny Depp once said something very raw. Very honest, I was pretty much a lost cause. Now, imagine hearing that from a man who the world saw as a superstar. A man who had everything. Fame, success, talent. Yet inside, he felt like he was slipping. He felt empty. He felt confused. He felt lost. Even though the whole world thought he was on top, and then something happened. Or rather, someone happened. Vanessa Paradis. She didn't come into his life with noise or sparkle. She came. Quietly, gently, almost like calm walking into chaos, and that moment changed. Everything, before all the headlines, before the drama, long before social media turned Johnny's life into a battlefield, there was a soft love story in the background, a story that didn't scream for attention, a story that saved him in silence. Let's go back for a second. It's the late 90s. Johnny Depp is already one of Hollywood's biggest names, but he isn't happy. He isn't settled. He isn't at peace. He's famous, yes, but not fulfilled. You know how sometimes a person looks like they have everything, yet they carry this sadness in their eyes? That was Johnny. He was drifting through parties, through crowds, through success, yet none of it touched him. He once said he felt like he didn't belong in the Hollywood world that praised him. So he wandered, rebelled, and tried to numb the noise around him and inside him. Then 1998 happened. A quiet hotel lobby in Paris. No red carpet, no cameras. Just life doing its job quietly. Johnny sees her. Vanessa Paradis, a French singer. A poet like soul, someone gentle, someone private, different from Hollywood, different from everything he was surrounded by at that time. He described it like electricity, like time paused for a second and whispered, "Pay attention. Sometimes life sends people, not because you're ready, but because you desperately need them," and Vanessa was that person for him. She didn't try to fix him. She didn't try to change him. She didn't try to mold him into some perfect version of himself. She simply gave him something he didn't have at that time, peace, where the world shouted. She spoke softly, where Hollywood demanded, she encouraged, where fame judged him. She understood him. That's rare, that's powerful, and that's healing. A lot of people think love is big gestures or dramatic moments, but true healing often shows up quietly. It's someone who looks at your broken edges and says, "You don't have to hide here." With Vanessa, Johnny found safety, and with that safety came transformation. He slowed down. He breathed again. He grounded himself. He built a life. Not a spotlight. He became a father. Twice. And when Lily Rose was born, Johnny said it was like life handed him a brand new identity. Not an actor, not a Hollywood rebel, not a misunderstood artist, a father, a protector, a man with a purpose. That is huge, because sometimes becoming a parent doesn't just give you love. It gives you a reason to stay alive, a reason to be better, reason to choose peace over chaos. Vanessa helped him choose. That she brought stillness to a man who was drowning in noise, and he embraced that stillness. They moved to France, far from Hollywood pressure, far from cameras following every footstep. He traded parties for family dinners, premieres, for cafe mornings. Chaos, for quiet streets and soft music at home. Imagine that one of Hollywood's biggest stars choosing bread from a small bakery instead of red carpet flashes. He didn't just fall in love, he found a home, he found himself. Now, here's something important in interviews. From those years, Johnny sounds different, softer, calmer, like someone finally breathing after holding their breath for too long. And that tells you a lot, because real healing changes your voice, your posture, your energy. It's visible. People sometimes forget. Before the legal battles, before the noise, before the world turned his life into a public debate, he had already gone through his darkest period once, and Vanessa was a big reason he came out of it. Another thing people rarely talk about. Even after their relationship ended, You never saw bitterness between them. No public fights, no ugly headlines. Just respect. That's not normal in Hollywood, and that's exactly why it's so valuable, Vanessa. Didn't speak when the world screamed at him years later. She didn't jump into public drama. She didn't join media battles. She didn't try to trend or chase attention. She stood with dignity, quiet loyalty, silence that said everything. There's a kind of love that doesn't end. It just changes shape. And honestly, what they had feels like that. Some people enter your life and stay forever. Not in your house, not in your photos, not even in your daily routines anymore, but in your spirit. Their presence settles inside you like a quiet echo, a reminder, a soft imprint. They don't just witness your story, they shape it. And even when life moves forward, when paths change, when distance grows, when chapters close, those rare souls remain written into your heart like ink that refuses to fade. That's what Vanessa was for Johnny. She didn't walk into his life like a storm. She didn't arrive with drama or noise. She came like calm sunlight after a long night, the kind of presence that doesn't demand attention. Or it just settles into your world until you can't imagine it without them. People saw Johnny Depp as a superstar, a rebel, a man with fire in his eyes and mystery around him. But Vanessa didn't see the public version. She saw the human, the vulnerable parts, the tired parts, the searching parts. She didn't love his legend. She loved his soul. She didn't feed his fame. Millions already did. She fed something deeper, something fame could never reach. She gave him peace, real peace, the kind that whispers instead of shouts, the kind you feel in your bones when you finally stop running from yourself, the kind that comes from being held. Not because the world loves you, but because someone understands you, and understanding is rare. In a world full of people who want to be seen, finding someone who truly sees you is a gift. With her, he didn't need to perform. He didn't need to guard his heart. He didn't need the armor, the attitude, the mask he perfected to survive fame. He could just be Johnny the man, not the myth. She didn't try to tame him. She simply gave him a place where he finally felt safe enough to breathe. Sometimes the right person doesn't change you by force. They change you by giving you the space to discover who you were meant to be, and that's what happened. She became the softness in a world that constantly demanded hardness from him. She became the quiet in a life built around noise. She became the stillness in a heart used to storms. People think love fixes everything, but real love doesn't fix. It heals slowly, quietly, patiently. It walks beside you when your world feels heavy. It holds your hand when you feel lost in your own thoughts. It reminds you of who you are when you forget. Vanessa did that. She wasn't there to elevate him on magazine covers or red carpets. She wasn't there for lights, for spotlight, for headlines. She was there for mornings without makeup, nights without cameras, ordinary moments that celebrities rarely get to live. She lived life with him, not fame. And through that simple, steady love, she helped him rebuild the parts of himself that fame had shaken, even when life took them in different directions. There was no bitterness in their story, no public war, no loud accusations, just quiet respect, because the foundation they built wasn't Hollywood. It was home. Some people leave pain behind, some leave chaos, some leave confusion, but some, very few, leave peace, and peace is what changes you the most. Johnny found his footing in her presence. He found clarity. He found meaning. He found a life beyond screens and scripts. He became a father, not just biologically, but emotionally, fully, softly, proudly. He traded late-night crowds for bedtime stories, red carpets for quiet mornings with coffee and music, Hollywood parties for family meals and laughter from small voices that called him daddy. That transformation doesn't come from fame. It comes from love that doesn't need applause, love that whispers, "You're safe," love that stays steady while the world spins fast, love that encourages you to build a life. Not just a career. She helped him build that life. And here's the beautiful truth. You don't forget someone who gives you peace. You carry them like warm light inside you. You may move on. Life may take you forward. But the softness they planted never goes away. It grows with you. people will always talk about. Johnny's career, his characters, his controversies, his fame. But those who really understand his journey know there was a chapter where he learned one of life's greatest lessons. Sometimes the most extraordinary love story isn't the loud one, it's the quiet one that saves you quietly, the one that expects nothing in return, the one that leaves you better than it found you. Vanessa didn't just love Johnny Depp. She helped him find Johnny, the man behind the legend. And the truth is, not everyone who changes your life stays forever beside you, but their love does, their impact does, their peace does, their memory does. Some people come into your life to be fireworks, bright, intense, unforgettable, but short-lived. Others come to be light, steady, warm, lasting, and you carry that light long after they're gone. Vanessa was light, a chapter of calm in a story full of storms. Breath in a life spent running. A whisper in a world that always shouted his name. She didn't give him fame. Millions already did. She gave him peace, and peace. Peace is a gift only a few people in a lifetime ever truly give. And when someone gives you peace, you never, ever forget them. And sometimes peace is the rarest gift in the world, especially for someone living under the weight of fame. Expectation, pressure, rumors, and loneliness disguised as luxury. People always assume celebrities have it all. The houses, the money, the applause, the cameras flashing, fans screaming, lights shining, but what they never notice is what hides behind that glow. The silence that follows when the doors close. The quiet ache of wondering who actually sees you, who loves you, not the image, not the myth, not the character you play, and when the world constantly demands a performance. True peace becomes priceless because fame feels loud, but loneliness feels louder. You can be surrounded by crowds and still feel like the only person in the room. You can have millions of eyes watching you and still feel unseen. That's what many people don't understand about someone like Johnny. He wasn't drowning in failure. He was drowning in noise, noise from expectations, noise from tabloids, noise from whispers in boardrooms and headlines on screens. Everyone wanted something from him. Everyone had an opinion about him. Everyone thought they knew him, but who actually knew him? Who saw the boy inside the man? Who saw the heart instead of the headline? Who heard the silence behind the jokes and the pain behind the laughter? So when Johnny said he was a lost cause, maybe he wasn't saying, I'm broken. Maybe he was saying, I'm tired of fighting alone, tired of being misunderstood, tired of being strong for a world that didn't bother asking if he was okay. His words didn't sound like defeat. They sounded like someone who desperately needed rest, and that's why Vanessa mattered. She didn't show up to rescue a broken man. She showed up and gave him something even more powerful, space to breathe, space to exist without judgment. Space to feel human again. Not legendary. She didn't ask him to perform. She didn't need him to shine. She simply sat with him in the quiet. And in that quiet, he found himself again. Sometimes healing doesn't look dramatic. Sometimes healing is slow mornings, soft laughter, warm coffee. A look that says, you don't have to pretend here. A voice that says, you're enough even when you're tired. That's what she gave him. She didn't fix him. She just stood beside him while he found the pieces of himself he thought were gone. When someone sees you beyond your image, when they love the parts the world never bothered to look at, that changes you. It's not about romance. It's not about fairy tales. It's about recognition, about being seen without performing, about being loved without masks. She saw him, the flaws, the fears, the dreams, the gentleness he always tried to hide, and she loved that version. The world saw Captain Jack Sparrow, the rebel, the icon. She saw Johnny, the soul inside the story, the heart behind the legend, and no matter where life took them later, that truth never faded. Some people don't walk in to change your world. They walk in to quiet it so you can finally hear your own heart again. And for someone who lived in chaos, someone who spent years being chased, praised, judged, And misunderstood, peace wasn't just comfort, it was salvation, and she gave him that. She saw the human, not the headlines, not the roles, not the rumors, just him. And sometimes, one person believing in you quietly is enough to bring you back to life. Now I'm curious, what do you think? Was Vanessa the calm before the storm? The anchor in his wild sea? The quiet love that saved a soul the world misunderstood? Tell me your thoughts. I really want to hear what you think. And if you want more stories like this, the real ones, the emotional ones, the ones that show the human behind the celebrity, stick around. Hit that like button. Subscribe. Ring the bell. I've got another deep dive video coming next. All about how Johnny found peace again after life turned into a courtroom, a circus, and a global conversation. Trust me, you don't want to miss that one. Because his story isn't about fame. It's about falling apart and learning how to stand again.